Oh, look. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Crunch Time on a Sunday, the last day before the All-Star break. I am Britt Devine, joined by Mr. Spidey Bomb himself, TJ, the world's #1 St. Louis Cardinals fan. Don't know if that gets you anything. Mr. Justin Van Zuden, sorry for the, I guess we were all just sitting there. We didn't even know the show was live. Normally, we're talking crap about everything possible, but we didn't say anything bad today. TJ, what's going on?
Yeah, not much. Jimmy James in chat is saying TJ's fault. You know what? You're right, Jimmy James. That was on me. That's my bad. But hey, we got some Spidey bombs ready to come to the people. Over 125 people watching already. So we got the first one coming at 50 likes. We'll go second at 70 likes. See where we go from there. Nice little daytime baseball slate for us.
Yeah, interested to see who you are. I looked at the home run board. Didn't really like. I usually like to bet the home runs when there's a big discrepancy in odds, and I didn't really like the big discrepancies today. So I'll have to see what you're looking at. Justin, what's going on with you today?
Yeah, not too much. Doing pretty good. I broke a toe last weekend, so I'm happy that that's recovering. I can walk a little better again. So that's the bright spot in my week here. It's really difficult when you break a toe because you can't.
Which toe? I've broken a big toe, and let me tell you, that was no fun.
Yeah, it was my big toe on my left foot, but it wasn't, it was a small fracture and it didn't like bend out of place or anything. But yeah, it was really, really painful for a few days.
Mm-hmm.
But today, finally the first day that I don't have to like tape it up and walk, with a really bad limp. So it's going to be a good Sunday. And then, no baseball for the next few days is going to feel a little bit weird, but everybody needs a few days. The baseball grind is so long with the season being 6 months. And I know the sports calendar will be pretty dry the next few days, but good for a little break.
How'd you break the toe? I had a trailer hitch fall on my left big toe before, and it absolutely smashed my toe into oblivion.
Yeah, it wasn't. I mean, that sounds like a manly thing to at least have that happen. But our oldest son is 13, and he's getting difficult to buy for. And it was the 4th of July weekend, so we rented a giant water slide bounce house type thing for his birthday. And so, of course, all the adults and everybody, we were going down the water slide too. And now, I was wearing like a dry fit shirt and like athletic shorts, and obviously carry a little more weight than the kids. So I was flying down that thing. And then there's a little pad at the end where you just basically run into that. Well, every time I would run into the end, my feet would go up in the air, which is fine. But apparently the last time I went down it, my left foot did not go up in the air and it completely bent underneath me, which was very painful. And so it resulted in a slightly sprained ankle and a broken big toe. But it could have been a lot worse. So about a week later, we're doing a little better here.
Yeah, it's about 5 weeks from now you'll be feeling a lot better, but it takes a while with those. But glad to see the articles, the shows. It doesn't no broken big toe.
Yeah, you don't have to see my feet. So
yeah, well, that's not on this show. That's a different show we do here.
I set my alarm for 6:30 a.m. my time this morning to make sure I got my expert survey in for the early slate. Nobody else had started. Cards was totally done.
Yep. All right. Let's talk some baseball. I got TJ. They liked everything so fast. Let's get Spidey. Wow. Let's get Spidey Bomb #1 out of the way before we start talking pitching. Who we looking at?
Spider-Man does whatever a spider can. Spins a web any size. Catches thief.
All right, Spidey Bomb #1 today feels a little scary because this guy, the pitcher, came back in his first start of the season last week and was just absolutely lights out in 4 innings. But once again, the odds on Bo Bichette are just not what they should be. Plus 560 on Fanduel for Bo to hit a home run today. And Bo Bichette is Spidey Bomb #1.
All right. Speaking of Fanduel, they are the sponsor of our show. I will follow you in with the Bo Bichette. If you are a new sportsbook user, you probably have Fanduel anyway, but if you don't, make sure to download it. New customers can bet $20 and get $200 in bonus bets. Read the terms and conditions on that. Thank you to Fanduel for sponsoring the show. What I really need, the Rangers to remember they're going up against Patrick Corbin and start scoring some runs here. That would be great for an early morning bet I have. But Justin, let's talk baseball. Let's talk pitching. We had all the stars yesterday. We got all the 1A pitching pretty much going today. It's a little makes picking bats. There's really no sort of must-have bats. There's a couple you might want. But what are we doing for pitching today? We've got Luzardo at the top. No Bryce Harper in that lineup. I noticed on the bat there were some big projection changes once the Philadelphia lineup came back. He catapulted towards the top. You've got Bieber, who's basically notched down in salary, but has a very good matchup against the Royals, and he just basically dominated them. I think it was 2 starts ago. You've got the best of the rest, Domingo Germán, very cheap on DraftKings, probably your SP2 there. But who's the SP1 for you today?
Yeah, it's a tough slate. This just is one of the more difficult. There's not a whole lot separating pretty much everything today. So, there's thin lines. You're not going to have massive ownership anywhere, maybe with the exception of the Boston bats. So it's a tough slate to break down. I think if you've got a strong conviction on one spot, just roll with it. Because you're not going to see massive chalk. So Luzardo is my number one pitcher. Last start, he walked 2 guys, and that was the first time he had walked more than one batter in a start since May 9th or May 7th. One of those. It's been 2 months since he walked more than one batter in a start. He's just been fantastic. Doesn't get a lot of publicity because he's in Miami, but he's striking more guys out. The Phillies strike out a lot against lefties. He's got the highest strikeout prop on the board today. So for me, it's Luzardo. Aaron Nola, not quite as good away from home, hasn't been quite as good this year. Zach Eflin, I'm not paying a premium for a modest strikeout upside guy against the Braves. I'm not on Bieber. I get it because he's facing the Royals and, he's probably not going to allow very many runs. And he just pitched really well against them. But, this is a guy with a 19% strikeout rate, so I don't think he's going to absolutely bury you if you don't play him. I think he's safe for cash games, but, as possibly the most popular pitcher on the board, I just don't love it in GPPs. So I'm fine with Nola. I'm fine with Bieber, but it's Luzardo for me.
Yeah, I might like Bieber a little more than you, but I think I'm focusing on Luzardo as my top option right now. What about on DraftKings with Domingo Germán being so cheap and having a couple of good outings in a row here? If you want to fit in any sort of bats at all today, you need one of these cheap guys. He's 6,800, and you look at the bat. He's the 4th highest projected pitcher over there, more than Eflin, who's 10.5K. If you like the bats projections, the price just looks really good on him. Or do you prefer Luzardo? If you're not on Bieber, you pretty much have to be Luzardo and Domingo, if you ask me.
Yeah, Germán, I think, is the top SP2. He's too cheap. I think there is maybe a slight weather concern in that game too, so we got to keep a little bit of an eye on that. But assuming that game is clear to go, he shouldn't be that salary. So he is my preferred SP2 on DraftKings today at 6,800. There's not really anything below him that I like. You could kind of go in that middle tier with a Bassett or a Logan Gilbert or a Giolito. Giolito, probably the most risk reward of the bunch. And I think he can give you some Ks. Bassett, probably the safe option against the Tigers. But yeah, Germán is tough to get away from at that salary.
Yeah, speaking of the weather, Roth has the Yankee game yellow-orange. No changes to his early forecast. Storms of fire just west. Hopefully stay west. If you look at the radar, you can see this was his latest tweet about an hour ago, I believe, when he updated the page. You can see the rain's past it, and the storms that are firing are a little off to the left. So if you ask me, it seems pretty clear, unless I get something from Roth. The yellow-orange, I'm willing to play with Germán on DraftKings pretty much no problem today. TJ, they keep clicking the like button. We're at 87. Let's get Spidey Bomb number 2 out, and then we'll talk some pitching.
Spider-Man does whatever a spider can. Spins a web any size, catches thief.
All right, let's do it. So I'm actually going to go pitching first, and then I got Spidey Bomb number 2 for the people, if that's okay, just to give myself a little time to be ready to roll here. And so I decided I was going to take the full day off. I was just going to be like, it's the weekend. I'm going to take a nice little break, make sure I got a nice big bankroll for NFL. Yeah, but there's the All-Star break coming up, so I'm going to try and get some bets in during our show here at the same time.
There's KBO, there's Japan baseball, there's WNBA. If you need anything, let me know.
No, I'm going to take my break then, but I'll make sure that I get a little something in today as well. Yeah, I'm on the same page as Cards. Like, I think Luzardo is by far my top pitcher on the board today. But there are a lot of really great options. So in tournaments, I'm totally fine with Eflin, Nola, Ryan, Bieber, Bassett, Domingo Germán. I agree is the top SP2. To me, I like Luzardo and then probably Germán is the SP2. Like if I was doing a single entry, that would be the route that I'd be going with. But I don't hate the option of going like double pay up with Luzardo and Nola, double pay up with Luzardo and Bieber. I'm kind of good with that range too. Like guys like Logan Gilbert, maybe even like a Tariq Skubal, just in case he gets a bit of a bump and how good he looked in that first game. I feel comfortable going with them in a 150 max setting, but that would be about it. In terms of Spidey Bomb number 2 today.
Spider-Man does whatever a spider can. Spins a web any size, catches thief.
Hey, there we go. So in terms of Spidey Bomb number 2 today, I'm going over to the Cardinals, which is scary because I know it's the Cardinals, and we're probably going to get some feeling some bad juju from Cards. He's not going to be feeling ready to go. But Nolan Arenado, reverse splitsy, Lucas Giolito, Nolan Arenado plus 420 on Fanduel. We got him as Spidey Bomb number 2 today.
Justin, yay or nay?
Yeah, I don't mind them as bats today. Giolito is very hit or miss. So, and the offense, generally hasn't been the problem. So, and somehow they pitched a shutout yesterday. I'm not quite sure how that happened, but I guess it's the White Sox are hit or miss as well. But yeah, I don't mind their bats. It's just been the pitching that's the disaster.
All right, Justin, if you got another Spidey Bomb, let's get up to 125 likes, people, and we'll get Spidey Bomb, a final one out for you. Justin, real quick, offense in general, I'll ask you from a cash game perspective, what are we looking at? And then TJ, I'll come to you for some tournaments.
Yeah, this is a tough slate to build a cash game lineup because you've got like 10 offenses that project between like 4.5 and 4.8 runs. The only team that's projected for over 5 runs is Boston. And so you probably want some exposure there. And the top overall like projected ownership point per dollar bat on the slate is Ref Snyder, which makes sense. He's leading off, hits lefties really well. But, as soon as a righty comes into that game, Jarren Duran's there on the bench. And he's probably coming in. So makes it really difficult to kind of peg how you want to roll your ownership today. I think you got to get some exposure to Boston simply because they project so much better than the rest of the teams today, like Turner, Duvall, Kike Hernandez has always hit lefties well. Devers and Yoshida have pretty good splits against lefties, even in lefty-lefty matchups, and they're not carrying as high of ownership today. So Boston is the top offense. From there, you can make a case for like 6 or 7 different teams as number 2, and I couldn't argue against it. My 3 favorites are probably the White Sox, the Yankees, and the White Sox, the Yankees, and maybe the Reds. And the Mariners. Actually, the Mariners are probably 3rd. I was trying to think of the 3rd team that I wrote up today. White Sox, Yankees, Mariners as my favorite stacks away from Boston today.
All right, and then TJ from tournaments, how are you handling if Boston's probably going to draw the highest ownership? I like Cleveland a little bit too today. It looks like they're going to have some reasonable ownership. What are we doing from the tournament perspective?
Yeah, that was something. It's very interesting. I wrote this up in my expert survey today. Like every single team on the slate has a total between almost, and we've had some teams like Philly drop throughout the day. Some teams like Boston go up a little bit, but like every single team has a total between 3 and 5.5. And so it's very, very close together today. We got nobody over 6. We got nobody facing an absolute ace that they're probably not going to score any runs against. So it's pretty close together. And so with a team like Boston being the closest one we're really going to see to some big chalk today, that's a team I'm looking to go underweight on in tournaments because they're in a fine spot. But to be honest, I actually kind of like JP Sears. I don't think it's the wildest thing if you're playing a ton of lineups to get JP Sears in your pool going up against Boston. And so that's somewhere I'm going to look to get underweight. I really like the Cardinals, who I've mentioned earlier. The Yankees are another team that I'm interested in getting to quite a bit for tournaments today. Seattle, I don't mind one bit whatsoever. And then nobody's going to be playing Atlanta today. Nobody's going to be playing Toronto today. These are some teams with some very, very high upside offensive abilities that not many people are going to be getting to. So my biggest thing in tournaments is just if I'm playing Luzardo and Herman, well, then I want to make sure I'm getting a different stack other than Boston today. Outside of that, I don't really think you have to make a big stand in terms of ownership.
I'm always very critical of my Cardinals, but I'm pretty upset with TJ's Blue Jays at the moment as well. So I bet the Tigers on Friday because I'm the Blue Jays have brought back Kevin Gausman after 2 disastrous rookie league starts. Or yes, I'm sorry.
Alex Manoah. That's the thing. That's the thing people didn't realize is Manoah's rookie league start was so bad that it made it look like it was 2 disaster starts. But he pitched 6 scoreless innings and K'd double-digit guys in his second outing.
The first one was the 11 runs or whatever.
Yeah.
And the second one was good. Anyway, 2 starts in rookie ball, and they bring Manoah back. And so I'm okay, I'm going to throw a bet down on the Tigers on Friday. And the Blue Jays won by 10 runs. And then Saturday, it's Gausman and against the Tigers. And I thankfully I didn't bet the Blue Jays yesterday, but I would have. If I would have picked a side, and the Blue Jays get no hit by, the collection of Detroit relievers. So I was pretty upset that I bet the Tigers the night before. And then they throw a no hitter on a day they face Kevin Gausman. But anyway, that's the life.
Let's go position by position. We'll try to get through these and then take some questions at the end of the show. Cards, catcher, cash games. You don't need one really on FanDuel today. You probably want to get an actual first baseman in there, although the Contrerases are pretty reasonable on FanDuel. I wouldn't hate either one of them today. And then you also have the Contrerases on DraftKings. If you have a little bit of money to spend, do you like either one of them, or do you like something else maybe a little cheaper to get maybe more of the bats that you want?
Yeah, I don't mind going cheap here. I think the Contrerases are fine, but salary is probably going to be an issue today if you want to get Luzardo or if you want to get, one of the top end pitchers and some of the top end outfielders and stuff. And I don't see a huge ceiling. Nobody's projected over 9 on DK for catcher today. So Alfaro's in there for Boston hitting 6. He's in the 3Ks. Alejandro Kirk is 2,900. So I don't mind going cheap at catcher today. I do kind of like Cal Raleigh for a potential if you're going home run or bust there against Belak. I do like the Mariners a little bit today. So yeah, I just there's nothing you have to have. Lots of guys getting the day off, and it's just kind of a mediocre position today.
All right, and then TJ from tournaments, you got any specific catchers you're looking at?
Wilson Contreras, I think, is probably going to be my favorite tournament guy. His brother is picking up quite a bit more ownership than he is today. Is that even his brother? Yeah, that is his brother.
Yeah, they're brothers.
Wilson Contreras is probably my favorite, though, for tournaments. He started the year so terribly and then has just been phenomenal over the past stretch here. If you need to save some salary, Danny Jansen batting 5th, I think, has got to be my favorite in that range. He's been great this year. He has over 200 ISO against lefties, and we're used to seeing him in the 7 or 8 hole. So Danny Jansen batting 5th, I think, is very interesting. As is Kirk batting 6th in that same game, but that would probably be where I'd want to go if I was full out. If I needed to save some salary, I would rather just find the $300 for him over a guy like Pena or a guy like Furman. And then the last one I'd really like for tournaments is Travis d'Arnaud.
All right, Justin, first base, you've got a couple of mid-tier plays and Turner and Naylor, who I think are in pretty good spots. You've got your boy Goldschmidt and Vlad also, but they're a little bit higher in price. there's a couple other cheaper plays you can mix into. What's your preference? Spending, the mid-tier, or cheap?
Yeah, I don't have a strong preference at first. I think you can let your lineup construction decide. Like I do like Turner and Naylor in the mid-range. Turner's got good splits against lefties. I would probably side with him first. I'm not as high on Cleveland as most, just because their offense is just frustrating, and there's not a huge ceiling for that group, I don't think. So for stacks, I'm not as high on Cleveland, but Naylor individually and Ramirez obviously are fine. But probably Goldschmidt if I'm going high end, but I don't mind going super cheap here. Ryan Noda hitting second. Andrew Vaughn, I think, is an interesting GPP play. And then Kirilloff has good splits against righties. He's only 2,600. He's hitting cleanup today. So I do think you can go cheap here.
All right, 10 likes away. We'll get our final Spidey bomb. TJ, first base, what are you looking at?
Goldschmidt and Vlad are going to be my two favorite here. Like, I'm just seeing somebody like Justin Turner, who, yes, the Boston Red Sox are in a great spot today, but I don't want to play Turner at higher ownership than Goldschmidt and Arenado. So those guys are going to definitely be my two favorites. Matt Olson, I think, makes for a great tournament play. If you need to save salary, I agree. Andrew Vaughn would be my favorite. The White Sox going up against Mats is just it's great. I'm in. Like, it's I really like the White Sox today. Jose Abreu, I think, makes for a somewhat interesting tournament cheapie if you need it. But for me, this is probably either going to be a spend up spot, full out punt with Alec Burleson, who's now you can play at first base on DraftKings and he's 2K, or find somebody in the middle like Andrew Vaughn.
All right. Second base, Justin. It's if you're going cheap, it's Kiki Hernandez, I think, for sure. Even though he's batting seventh, he looks like to be in a reasonable spot today. The position's not great. I didn't find anyone I'm absolutely in love with. The bat likes Gleyber Torres, but he's reasonably expensive. Are you going up to him, somebody else towards the top, or is Kike at a reasonable price tag good enough?
Well, I mean, Torres on Fanduel at 3K is better than at 4,700 on DK. Mm-hmm. So I do like Torres on Fanduel. My favorite, my favorite punt is probably Remillard for the White Sox. He's leading off again. TJ mentioned, them going up against Mats. They've been better against lefties. Tony Kemp is leading off as well, gives you some speed. The position is so terrible that I think it's probably a mistake to spend here, and I'm never going to play Andres Jimenez as chalk, especially as somewhat pricey chalk. So, Whit Merrifield is leading off today, so he has a little bit more appeal. But yeah, I like going cheap here with Remillard, Kemp, Torres on Fanduel.
TJ, what are you looking at?
Yeah, Remillard is 100% the guy here. On DraftKings, I think he's my favorite salary saver on the slate, but batting leadoff. And then on FanDuel, I like the Gleyber Torres call. Quietly, Whit Merrifield has been really good lately, hitting homers even, and he is batting leadoff today for the Blue Jays. So I think Whit Merrifield makes for a phenomenal play. To me, this position is really all about Remillard and Merrifield.
All right, let's go to third base cards. What's that look like around the industry today?
Yeah, I think third is interesting because you basically got a whole bunch of guys at 5 to 10% ownership. And you've got a whole lot of upside with Arenado and, Ellie De La Cruz obviously stealing 3 bases in about 2 minutes yesterday. You've got Jose Ramirez, who is obviously the best Cleveland bat. You've got Devers, who hits lefties pretty well. You've got Matt Chapman, who hits lefties pretty well. Just a whole lot of good spends here. And then I like Josh Donaldson today. It's probably, going to blow up in my face, but Donaldson basically has been home run or bust the last couple of weeks, and Kyle Hendricks can't really throw the ball by anybody. So if you're not throwing the ball by Donaldson and he makes good contact and he's cheap, throw Suarez into that mix against Bielak as well. If you've got the money to spend, certainly spend on Arenado, Devers, Ramirez. But I like Donaldson, Suarez as punts as well.
All right, TJ, the bat has your boy Matt Chapman from the Blue Jays up against Skubal. What do you think of the Blue Jays today overall? Skubal was pretty good last year, phenomenal in rehab, good first start. I don't know. I don't know if I really love the Blue Jays today.
I like him a lot more as a mini stack than a full stack. Like, Skubal's good. I'm not really trying to mess around against him, but the Blue Jays just have some nice cheap bats in great spots today. Like Chapman is batting cleanup against the lefty. He's always absolutely smashed lefties. And you got Whit Merrifield, who's playing really good lately at a leadoff at a very weak position. So they make great, like, oh, I have X amount of salary left, and there's a Blue Jay at this position in a pretty decent spot. Kind of plug and plays, but they're not phenomenal they're not like a top stack that stands above anybody else by any means. It's just that we really don't have that many strong stacks today. Like, I really think my two favorites are in that same game. It's St. Louis and Chicago White Sox. And so we really don't have all that much to be excited about. So that's why I think we're kind of interested in going to a team like them. Gunnar Henderson, I think, makes for a great tournament play. Joe Ryan is great against righties, not so much against lefties. My favorite play, of course, is the Spidey bomb, Nolan Arenado. I think he makes for a great tournament pivot off of Rafael Devers. Love Jake Berger, and I agree my favorite salary saver, if I need it, is probably going to be Josh Donaldson. But don't sleep on Eugenio Suarez either. He's sub 3K on DraftKings now, and he's batting 5th today.
Shortstop cards, you've got didn't Adames go double dong yesterday? I think he did, right?
Nobody talks about that because everybody wanted to talk about what Ellie did.
Yeah, so Adames, he's reasonably priced. Everyone else, it's another position. I think everyone's probably a little bit too expensive for what I want to spend today. There's really like no bat I think you have to have overall today. How are you handling this? Are you finding the money for a Bichette, a Trey Turner? I don't think I'm going to play Trey Turner. Or are you going to the mid tier, or do you have a cheap play?
Yeah, surprising at kind of how relatively weak this position is. You got a lot of basically Wander Franco, Trey Turner, Bichette, Gunnar Henderson, Bobby Witt. All these guys are facing good pitchers today. So, I mean, normally there's one or two of those guys has a really good matchup, and they just kind of become the obvious gotta have play at shortstop on a nightly basis. But we don't have that today. You can always play those guys. I mean, getting them at low ownership is certainly an interesting GPP angle. If any one of these guys, has a 2 home run day, you're getting big time performance from a guy that's 3 to 4 to 5% owned. So I do like Adames a good bit. He's got 3 homers this weekend, 2 yesterday, 1 Friday. Ben Lively is not very good. McLean, if you can get there, but he's 5,300 on DraftKings, a little easier to get to on Fanduel. Tim Anderson has not had a good year, but if you're on the White Sox, he's a good mid-range play as well. But yeah, a rare day where shortstop, you could maybe even punt with JP Crawford if you wanted to. Like, not a lot of conviction at this position today.
All right, TJ, real quick, give me shortstop, give me outfield too for tournaments. We'll get on cash games from Justin in just a second, and then we'll try to take as many questions as we can fit in.
It sounds good. We're only 5 likes away for our 3rd Spidey bomb. For the sake of time, we'll go without the music on this one, but keep hitting that like button, and I'll get a Spidey bomb once I'm through those positions as well. Shortstop today, Bo Bichette, the Spidey bomb, obviously my favorite guy today. Gunnar Henderson is another player you can go to here. I love the Willy Adames call, 4K. I think he's on DraftKings. I think he's a phenomenal play today. If you need to save salary, nothing wrong with some Kike Hernandez, but I don't think it's crazy to even go with somebody like Yu Chang as a punt either. Crawford and Garcia you can totally go with if you need to save salary as leadoff guys. Pivoting over to the outfield spot, I really like Christian Yelich today. He's going to be one of my favorites on the board. I think he's great for tournaments. And believe it or not, Christian Yelich, Spidey bomb number 3 today. I haven't looked at his odds, but I do like Christian Yelich to hit a home run. Plus 470, perfect, over on FanDuel. A nice, good set of odds for him, too. Yelich is Spidey bomb number 2. I think Luis Robert is like the priority spend app for me today. He's the one player that I'd want to make sure I'm getting in my lineups. Julio Rodriguez and Giancarlo Stanton, nice and cheap. Adam Duvall, probably a cash game play, but going to pick up a ton of ownership today. Same with Rob Rebsnyder. Need to save some salary. Teoscar, Belak, Whit Merrifield, although I'd rather play him at second. All those guys are totally fine today. And I don't hate the idea of punting with like Zach McKinstry or a Jordan Walker, something like that either.
Yelich will definitely homer today, so I bet him because I bet him yesterday, and I've been like a day behind the entire week on home runs. Not ideal. But Justin, real quick, Who's a priority spend? And then in terms of Rice Snyder, is he someone you want to target today for cash games? You need to save that salary, or you're going more known quantities, full at bats?
Yeah, the at bats does worry me, but it's tough to get away from, particularly on DK where he's 2,600. So I'm fine playing him in cash games, but I actually don't. I think the best approach maybe is to leave him out of some of your GPP stacks, and that's one way to maybe differentiate your Boston stacks a little bit. If you're a day late on the home run calls, then that means J-Rod's probably going to homer today. Yep. I do like him as well. Luis Robert is my favorite spend at the position. Just really good splits against lefties, and Matt's is terrible. Again, I like the Mariners, so Teoscar as a cheap play today I think is fine. More of a tournament play. Jared Kelenic, again, tournament play, as opposed to rolling a bunch of those guys in cash. I don't mind Stanton. He's a little better on FanDuel. I think we've covered most of the good plays here. So.
All right. I don't have any updates from Roth on the weather. I would assume that means his New York forecast stands as good, and I'm okay using Domingo pretty much unquestioned today, along with any Yankee bats. All right. Questions real quick from our Discord. SHB Ball wants to know, DraftKings cash, Jansen or Alfaro for your cheap catcher, Justin?
I would go Alfaro today, but both are fine.
Yeah, I think I'd take Alfaro too. We're going to head to YouTube. We've got a lot of people watching. We already got the last Spidey bomb. We've hit 125 likes. Thank you for all of that. Reverse order, Cheyenne wants to know, Blade, Kemp, or Brown, last man to pair with Rooker on FanDuel?
Blade.
Brendan wants to know, Devers and Rice Snyder or Luis Robert and Arenado for DraftKings cash? I'd probably go with...
There's no way that can't be right. The second combo is 2 5K guys, and Ref Snyder's in the first one.
Yeah, if that's somehow right, then you're doing something weird. It's definitely
something wrong with that one. Jake wants to know, DraftKings single entry, Adames and Jared Kelenic or JP Crawford and Eloy?
Adames and Kelenic.
Yeah, I would go with that one as well. Let's see here if we've got a couple more questions. We Major wants to know, favorite starting pitcher on FanDuel for single entry and tournaments. TJ, I'll go to you on that one.
Luzardo.
Justin?
Yeah, I agree. I don't think there's enough of an ownership difference on anybody to worry about that today and think that Luzardo's too chalky. So, yeah, give me him as well.
Yeah, I'm just trying to refresh to make sure I've got the latest ownership. I do have I use the bat for it, but we've got Luzardo.
Not Arenado, it's Jonathan Aranda, so the third baseman for the Rays. So it's definitely Devers and Ref Snyder.
Yeah, definitely the first one, the Boston pair. Let's see, YouTube, if I've got any more. No, Giolito, anyone on him today? Tournament upside. I think you had a little blurb, Justin, in your article today. He's certainly capable against your Cardinals of putting up.
I mean, he could get 9 Ks and 1 run in 6 innings, or he could walk 4 guys and give up 6 runs. Like, that's Giolito for you. So he's definitely not a cash game guy. I'm not going to argue against anybody playing him in tournaments. I'm not going to argue against anybody playing the Cardinal bats either.
I'm going to argue. Cardinals are scoring 8+ runs today. Don't play Giolito.
And they'll probably still lose.
If you need a bet, I think I'm on the Cleveland run line.
For my top stack, and they're going to go 9.
Cleveland run line -1.5. It was around -110. I do like Bieber to shut down the Royals today and do just enough against Yarborough in that bullpen to hopefully be able to win by more than a single run today. The money line, once the money lines get to -200, I tend to look at the run line. So I like that for Cleveland today. But I also liked the Rangers against Patrick Corbin, and they only have 1 run. It's 2-1 Washington. So we'll see how that one ends up. Justin, you have any other bets you were looking at or made today while you were sitting there with your toe writing all those articles this morning?
Nope. I like the over Ks on Luzardo. I don't really have any. I go pretty light today with the day before the All-Star break. Too many shenanigans with guys, having half their mind on their 4-day break. But I do like Luzardo's Ks today.
And TJ, recap the Spidey bombs for people.
Spidey bombs are Bo Bichette, Nolan Arenado, and Christian Yelich. My bets for today are Zach Remillard, 4+ bases, Whit Merrifield, 4+ bases, Christian Yelich, 4+ bases, Buxton, 4+ bases, Lizardo 7+ strikeouts, Arenado 4+ bases, Robert 4+ bases, Devers to homer. I got Bichette to homer on at plus 730. So I like that one quite a bit. And then I also just did a really big 9-player parlay with all of these players to get at least 2 bases, and then Lizardo to get 7 Ks. And I got Robert, Stanton, Bichette, Buxton, Jose Ramirez, Fernando Tatis, Devers, and Acuna.
TJ's been busy this morning at the sportsbook hammering.
All of these were done during the show.
Oh yeah, there you go. Let's see. It looks like the questions we've hit lock. What do we have? 2 games locked. Let's see here. Dan Jan wants to know Sears and Bieber as your combination today on DraftKings. I would assume that seems. I know TJ talks Sears. I think Bieber's fine. That's a way to get a little different today, especially if Sears somehow can keep Boston down. You're going to be taking out a reasonable amount of ownership from that end too. TJ, you on board with that?
Yeah, I think that's totally fine. It's like I wouldn't want to be putting a large amount of single entry dollars on a guy like JP Sears today, but if I'm either playing something small in a large field or building a lot of lineups, I think that gives some great leverage against Boston, and I think he's a decent pitcher, so I'm fine with it.
All right, I got to go. The wife's calling for me. Time's up. Show's over. For Justin and TJ, I'm Britt. Thanks for watching, everybody, and we out, you.